What's the and this is a little bit of a pun. What are the ingredients required for scaling a restaurant successfully?
Phenomenal team. You got to have a great team. You got to take care of your people. That's if you don't have that, you can't. Doesn't work. Can't do it.
That was the voice of Jerry Corley, Outback managing partner turned restaurant scaling success story. Jerry has opened and grown a number of restaurants and has overseen the creation of the Hub City Brewing venue and brewery, as well as its wide line of beers and brews. Welcome to 40 by 45, the West Tennessee Business Podcast, sponsored by Tennessee Industrial Printing. Jerry Corley, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Jerry, how would you describe your job? Because you're kind of in a unique position now.
Yeah, so I oversee pretty much all the operations of the restaurants, the brewery, the app. I deal a lot with everything not in operations. Mm-hmm. I go and look for new places, new ideas, mm-hmm. Deal a lot with different leases and landlords, mm-hmm. Studies of different places, different cities, look for new opportunities. That's pretty much my day in and day out. And also, I still answer the calls to, my guys who are running the operations that need help getting past something.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things. So we're talking about Rock and Dough, Jackson's Kitchen and Catering, the brewery, which is Hub City Brewing, and then you've got you're not just brewing for Rock and Dough, but you're brewing for other for retail sales and other restaurants.
Yeah. So the brewery is kind of like a two-headed snake. We started the brewery to brew all the beer for Rock and Dough, mm-hmm. Because of the different locations. We needed to be able to get consistent beer to each location, but we also realized that we had enough time on our hands and enough space to create another brand, and that's where Hub City came from. Yeah. So Rock and Dough, you can only get at Rock and Dough. Hub City, we distribute statewide.
Yeah. But all of this, you started as a teacher in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So how does that start?
Yeah. So graduated in 95, 22 years old, and with an education degree, taught school for a year and a half, and realized that I couldn't really raise a family on a teacher's salary in Louisiana in 1995. So I said, man, I'm going to go back to school and get a degree in hospitality management, because I bartended and waited tables all through college. And just so happened, a semester into me going back to school, and I was married, by the way, but a semester into me going back to school, they opened Outback in my hometown. I think we were the 100th Outback to open, and that was in 1997, I believe. And so I went to work for them and managed that location for 5 years. And then I got an opportunity to move to Jackson in 2002 and be the partner for Outback Steakhouse here.
So you progressed really quickly through the Outback, because you started as a bartender?
Yeah, I mean, I got hired as a bartender, and I don't know, 3 weeks later, I got promoted into management. But I managed there really for 4.5 years, so I really wasn't fast-tracked through to being a partner. Yeah. In my mind back then, I was 2 years behind, because I thought I was ready earlier. But in a big corporate world like that, it's all on them as to when you get that promotion. So
was that part of the Outback culture to like continually raise up talent interior?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We always tried to grow from within. Your number one goal as an Outback manager was really to train people to take your place. You wanted to get somebody underneath you promoted to something bigger than they were. And with the growth we had, it was easy.
Yeah. Because they were opening new stores at that time.
Yeah.
So that Outback's the opportunity that brought you to Jackson.
Yes.
Did they have an Outback, or did you open it here?
No, they had an Outback here. It had been open for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, I think. It was a franchise out of Mississippi, and I think I was the actual third partner to come in there and take that store over.
What was it? Was it just that? Was that just the first opportunity, or was there something about this opportunity that brought you here?
Yeah, so it was a good opportunity financially. It was what I had been wanting to, to achieve. But what was funny, about a year before that, an opportunity came up in the Cayman Islands to do the Outback in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
And it was just my wife and I. And we were, I said, yeah, I'll go. And the question from the franchisee over there said, well, are y'all wanting to have kids? I was like, well, certainly. He said, then we can't take you because you don't want to be here and go through that here. We don't think you'd make it.
Yeah.
But I was ready to go to the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
It was a 2-year thing too. It was a 2-year partnership, where here it's a 5-year partnership.
Interesting.
So contracts renew every 5 years.
Yeah.
So I would have gone to the Cayman Islands, but being from Louisiana and never having lived anywhere else, when we came up here and we visited, and we stayed 2 nights in the hotel that's just to the south of McDonald's on the bypass. I don't know what it's called now. I probably wouldn't stay there again.
Yeah.
But I remember walking. It was a Hampton Inn at the time, and I remember walking out and looking around, and Casey Jones Village across the street, and I was like, man, I love this little town.
Yeah.
And so we visited and we talked to the area guy for Outback and shook hands, and he said, we'll be in touch. And I said, sounds good. And so my wife and I left, and we went to Graceland on the way home. I just bought my tickets to go into Graceland, and I got the call that said, hey, we want you to move here. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
We're in.
Life changer.
Life changer. So then here we are.
Yeah. But there was a move back to the Bayou at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, so we came back here, and we moved in, and I completed my first contract with Outback. 5 years later, I believe 2007, I renewed my contract, and in 2008, my friend that had hired me at first at Outback in Alexandria called me and said, I've got an opportunity with a family in Lafayette that has this booming Mexican restaurant, and they want us to develop it, and I want you to be a part of it. Are you ready to leave Outback in that corporate world? And I was, because I got real tired of the corporate, everything. And I said, man, let me come look at it. And so again, my wife and I, we get in the car, we go down to Lafayette, we have dinner with the family and look at the restaurant, and decided we're in. And so that was Coyote Blues. And so they were booming at the time, and there was only one location. So I came home, we packed up our stuff, hugged all our friends, told them we'd be back in 2 years. And that was my goal, I want to be back here in 2 years, and I'm going to open Coyote Blues here. And 2 years to the day, almost, we came back and opened Coyote Blues. And so for 2 years we went back and lived in Lafayette, and I trained in that concept and learned it and brought it back here.
ATA is a leading advisory and tax accounting firm. From tax planning and client accounting services to advisory and assurance, ATA has got you covered. With locations in Jackson, Dyersburg, Union City, Milan, Paris, Memphis, and Henderson, and more outside of West Tennessee, they have an expert nearby to support you. As ATA says, let's amplify your business together. Contact them today at ata.net. Direct Shred is a family-owned and operated commercial and residential shredding company based in Jackson, but serving all of West Tennessee and Memphis. If you need secure, certified, document, or hard drive destruction, contact Direct Shred today at directshred.com. Special thanks to our season sponsor, Tennessee Industrial Printing. So you bring it back here and you open it in the Co building, which is now the Co building. It had been the Madison's, or before that, the Ribeye Barn.
Yeah.
I work out of the Co, and I can tell when someone was really socially active in Jackson by what building they reference it as.
Oh yeah.
And so You opened Coyote Blues here. How's it go?
Awful. We opened it up, and it was foreign to everybody. It was, is it Mexican? Is it Cajun? We're not used to Mexican restaurants having steaks or seafood burritos with crawfish and shrimp. Bread pudding. We don't know what it is, and also it was on the wrong side of I-40, because at the time I knew at Outback how successful we were, and Outback is probably a half a mile down the road.
Yeah, it's not far.
It's not far, but I thought, okay, half a mile.
Yeah.
And so I got taught a lesson really fast about people not wanting to cross that interstate.
Yeah. And
so we opened up in that area, and we did the best we could. But 11 months later, we had the opportunity to move into the Corky's building. And so we took that opportunity, moved into it, and ran it there for several years.
So you come back here, you open a new restaurant. It's not going great, and your lease is up. You have an opportunity to kind of punt and say, hey, I'm going to do something different, or I'm going to move back and open somewhere else. Instead, you double down and sign a new lease, move it to a new location. You got all the construction costs and all that kind of stuff. What's the difference between punting and doubling down?
Well, at the time, we still felt like Coyote Blues had legs to grow. And in that time of me going to Lafayette and then moving here, we also opened a huge location in Baton Rouge. We opened one in Lake Charles, and then we opened here in Jackson, and then we opened one in Metairie. So we went from having one in 2008 to 2011 having 5. So we really, so we had the cash flow, and we really felt like we're going to give it a go because we needed it to work. And so we did, and we had an opportunity to move over to the Corky's building. Which is
across from Chick-fil-A.
Across from Chick-fil-A. And so, which is a good or bad thing, I'm not sure. It depends on if you go at lunch or not. But it did well. And we continued to operate that from 2012, I believe, to about 2017. I don't remember the exact dates.
And
but
do you think the location change was the biggest driver there?
100%.
That's wild.
100%.
It's amazing. So, thinking about the history of Coyote Blues, I think, and we didn't put this out to a poll, but I think one of the most unpopular business decisions in Jackson's history was the closure of Coyote Blues. Can you give us some insight into what happened?
Yeah. So I got a call one day from our landlord that basically just said, hey, we're going to sell the building, and I just want you to be aware. And our lease was not up yet, but we had option to renew and all that. So I said, okay. And I was friends with the landlord, and actually they were small investors in the actual restaurant at that time. So I got the call, and the person that was going to buy it said, hey, are you going to renew your lease? Well, I thought I was doing the landlord a favor by saying, absolutely, we're going to renew. We were, but I was like, yeah, we're going to renew. And the person who wanted to buy it said, well, what if you didn't renew? And I said, well, but I'm gonna. And he said, well, what if we buy you out? And what if we just buy you out of your lease and we buy your business? And I said, okay, well, we can talk about that. And so I called my partner in Lafayette. And also, by the way, after the run, this Coyote Blues was the last one.
Really?
Yeah. So all the others had closed.
Why is that?
I don't know.
It grew, but it grew so fast.
Yeah, it did. It just fizzled out. You can blame a lot of factors, but I know it could have made it. It just didn't.
Yeah.
Ours did. And we made some decisions to not do some things that they did in the other stores. and I believe that's why we remain
Gotcha.
successful. But that's the backstory to me going, okay, well, there's only one of these left.
Yeah. So you don't have the infrastructure.
We didn't need it at this point. We were standing on our own, making good money, but we had the opportunity now to exit Coyote Blues because we had already now invested in the beginning of Rock and Dough, and we felt like it had as good a chance as any. Everybody understands pizza.
Yeah.
And so it was a good time for us just to make a transition. And so we made them an offer and said, if you want to buy us, here's what it's going to cost. And they said, okay. And so we had a 1-year notice.
Yeah.
And we let our management know, hey, in a year, this is going to shut down. This is where we're headed. All of you can come with us to Rock and Dough because we're going to do the same thing at Rock and Dough.
Yeah.
We're going to grow it from what it is now to however many stores we can.
So you saw more growth potential in Rock and Dough.
Yeah.
And is it because, and I'm going to use this phrase, everybody understands pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I think that with Coyote, the first location didn't do us any favors, but I also think it took the community so long to understand what Coyote Blues meant. Mm-hmm. Why Coyote Blues? Is it music? Is it why? It's so weird, and it's like nobody really understood Coyote Blues. So I feel like going to in the meantime we opened one in Oxford that lasted 13 months, and we shut it down.
Yeah,
it just nobody. So we knew like it just didn't have the legs that we thought, and so. It was a good time to get out. Yeah. And so we did.
But in Rock and Dough, you didn't start making pizzas. How did you get involved with Rock and Dough?
So the original owner that started Rock and Dough already had this location open, downtown Jackson, had a small store in Memphis open, and had leased another store, but didn't have the funding or the personnel to get open. And I didn't know all this, but I had seen him at a Taste of Jackson show at the farmer's market, and his booth was next to ours. And I said, hey man, I said, I'm opening one here. And I said, you ought to come be my neighbor. This was the beginning of the Oxford location. And he said, man, I don't have the money or the people to do that. And I just simply said, hey man, if you ever need anything, holler at me. And he said, I'm hollering. And I said, well, let's talk and see what's up, see what you need. And so we got involved with Rock and Dough and helped him get that third store open, became partners with him. And then after about a year or so, just bought him out. Just was a direction that the business needed to go. And so we bought him out, and that's that.
I feel like most restaurants are run by cooks or people who want to make food, but you bring a different sort of the thing to the table.
Well, I like to eat food, and I can't brew beer either, but I like to sample it. I don't know. I was never a cook, but I always enjoyed the business. Mm-hmm. There's parts of the business I don't enjoy, but for the most part, it's awesome. Yeah. But I'm not normal. So I don't guess I am.
Yeah. So you've gotten into Rock and Dough. They have a brewery on site originally, right? What changed, what happened that you decided to start the Hub City Brewing?
We had the brewery on site. We opened another location in Germantown, and we put a small brewery in there. In our mind, Cody, our brewmaster, was going to be able to go in between the Jackson location and the Germantown location and make consistent beer and brew in both places and make it work. And we realized real quick that was, you can't do that. You can't do that. And so we knew we had more coming. And every time we open a new location, we get
Same problem.
the same problem. And then we get 16 taps that we got to figure out how to make beer for. And so this building was empty. It had been vacant for years. And so I was able to come over and look at this building, and we purchased it. And that's why we did it, because we knew we needed a place to make consistent beer for however many of these we build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And right now you can actually, that background noise that people are hearing is Cody going to work making cans, because it doesn't just go in the stores.
Yeah.
It goes into retail.
Right. Well, right now he's canning 16-ounce cans for the soccer stadium, because we're in the Nashville Soccer Club, and so we sell our cans there, and we have a rock and dough stand in the stadium. So they have game coming up February 22nd, so we're trying to hurry up and get them there. They're fresh cans of rivalry before that kicks off.
You also have, I was at a Grizzlies game recently. You guys got a stand there. What's the economics of a stadium restaurant deal? It seems like it would be hard to make money.
Oh, it's not a moneymaker.
Okay.
And so the only it frustrates me, because I don't like to gouge people, and I think that stadiums, that's all they do is they gouge people. You hear about it all the time. It's $6 for a bottle of water, or $12 for a beer, or $9 for a slice of pizza. Yeah. And it cost us so much to have that stand in there. Plus, we only keep half of what they charge. So it is 100% a marketing opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's it. So, we have one in soccer, we have one in FedEx basketball, and those two combined, if we break even, it's a win, because it's free marketing. So that's our marketing plan.
Tennessee Industrial Printing is West Tennessee's commercial printer. They have built their reputation on delivering on time, on budget, and on target. Tennessee Industrial Printing delivers on complex printing projects, mailing projects, and fulfillment services. With a fleet of presses, they have positioned themselves to handle small and large volume jobs. I've been able to work with tips with many of my clients' projects, and they have delivered every time. Wayne and his team have continuously invested to ensure that they are an efficient and effective option for commercial printing. Start your next project at tipsprints.com. It seems like your career has been really mostly about trying to scale restaurants. You scaled Coyote, now you're scaling Rock and Dough. Scaling is hard. As someone who also is in business, scaling is hard, and the restaurant business is notoriously difficult. What's the and this is a little bit of a pun, what are the ingredients required for scaling a restaurant successfully?
Phenomenal team. You got to have a great team. You got to take care of your people. That's, if you don't have that, you can't. Doesn't work. Can't do it. And I have been very, very blessed over the last 20, 21 years to have that.
Yeah.
So that's the key to it.
You hear sometimes about coaching trees in football. Like this coached with him, and now he's a head coach, sort of thing. And it really seems like you've had a coaching tree starting at Outback in Jackson with some of your kitchen talent, and names that come to mind for me are Ian, Lewis, and Trevor. And I know Ian's not doing a different thing now, but he was part of that system. Bill Hodges, who's a very good friend of yours and the owner of 310 Rosemont, said this about you, okay? This is where I pull out my handy-dandy laptop.
Well, you can only believe half of what Bill says.
I'm only playing a little bit of what Bill had to say.
Well,
so thinking about team and people, this is what he had to say.
He gives himself. He's up front. He's honest. He's going to tell you if he can. He's going to tell you if he can't. Most times he would never say I can't, because he'll figure out how to get it done. And another quality is I watched him with his years in Jackson, whether it be from Outback when he got here to where he is today. He never asked his employees to do something that he hasn't done, his wife wouldn't do, his children wouldn't do, or he wouldn't expect those around him to do. He does it himself. And that comes from a very strong family too. Is all the people that I've met in my life with Jerry's family. They're just amazing people. So I think that's one of the greatest qualities is he does or has done what he asked you to do.
So Bill talks about you not doing anything that you wouldn't ask other people to do. You've built this coaching tree of these great quality people in an industry that's really traditionally very hard to keep people in and probably hard to develop talent in. How do you do that? How have you done that?
Man, you know, I think that it's true. You don't ask anybody to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself. I think that I've always made it a point, and I don't know if this is why, I don't know. But I've always made it a point when I ask somebody to do something, I always say please and thank you. You know, I just, I don't know. I mean, that to me, that's just been my go-to for so long. And if my team needs something, I try to be there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not one to step away from whatever they need.
Yeah.
So I just think you have to be supportive and, you know, understanding, you know, and I will say this, my mentality when I came here with Outback, my kids were small. And the first 4 years I wasn't home much because I was closing Outback.
Yeah.
That corporate world. But I did develop a team to where when my kids started doing things, sports, I didn't miss. Mm-hmm. And I won't miss.
Yeah.
And to this day, if one of my managers, you know, if I find out that they're at work while their son's got a football game, I'm asking them why. Mm-hmm. Because if you can't run your restaurant to not miss those things, then you're doing something wrong. And I think that is completely opposite of what the corporate world does.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's why.
That could be it. Well, and let's talk about corporate for a minute, because one of the reasons you left Outback was because it got too corporate.
Yep.
You're scaling Rock and Dough. Mm-hmm. You're adding locations and stuff. How do you prevent yourself from becoming what you hate?
We talk about it all the time. And we just opened Gallatin the 21st of January. And the whole crew went out with the flu. Myself and my area kitchen guy in Nashville are the only two that kept going to work, and thank God we didn't get it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we just, the two of us just worked, you know, 10, 11 days in a row. We worked doubles and we washed dishes. We sprayed floors. I mean, we did all that stuff because we had to.
Yeah.
I loved it. But when my managers came back, and I was talking to one of them that actually started here and now she's the GM there, you know, I told her, I said, this isn't normal. Like, you guys aren't going to work this hard for this long.
Yeah.
And if you don't work yourself out of it, it's your fault, because I don't expect it from you. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I don't expect you to be here 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even expect you to be here 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
If you can't get your work done in 42, 44 hours a week, you're not doing something right.
And maybe it's that you're modeling that.
Yeah. So the question was, I went off on a tangent there with the story, but the question was, how do you, you know, grow these restaurants with that mentality? And I think that's kind of what is going to help us grow them.
Yeah.
Now there is a point in time where you have to, there are going to be those that take advantage of that situation. But back to another lesson I learned when I first took over Outback, I came in and I was so worried at the time. I was a new GM and I wanted to do these numbers and I wanted to be the best in the region, and which we were. But I always worried about people that came in and would eat half their food and go, it wasn't any good. I want you to comp it. And Outback's policy was comp it. I remember telling my area guy, I said, hey man, they're killing us with these comps. And he goes, you know what? 10% of the people are going to always try to get over on you. Don't worry about them. Manage the 90%. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like we have to do that with our people too. We have to manage everybody like they're, the best employees that we have.
Yeah.
And then, figure out how to grow it and how to keep that non-corporate, corporate, map.
Keep the strengths of the corporate, but not the bad parts.
Right.
Maybe. Yeah. Haven Insurance Partners is a locally owned independent insurance agency. Haven takes your risks, whether personal, commercial, health, or life, and approaches many different insurance companies on your behalf. This allows them to find different coverages and price points for you. At Haven, they believe you deserve options, and they want to help you explore those. Visit haveninsurance.com to find better coverage today. You might not know that I started my educational journey at a community college after high school, which allowed me to have some time to make decisions for my future and save money on gen ed classes. Jackson State Community College provides that opportunity and many others for students in West Tennessee. Visit jscc.edu to see all of their educational and career building opportunities. Special thanks to our season sponsor, Tennessee Industrial Printing.
Right.
Now, thinking about where we're at right now. So we're in Hub City Brewing, which is in downtown Jackson. Rockin' Dough's in downtown Jackson. Jackson Kitchen and Catering is in downtown Jackson. I think it's a little ironic that you moved Cowdy Blues north of the interstate to be successful, but now you are really invested in downtown. And one thing that you didn't bring up in your resume is that apparently you and Bill owned the Downtown Tavern for a period of time.
Yeah, we did.
And Bill accredits that to your love of downtown. So here's what Bill Hodges had to say about that.
But so there was a stage back behind it. There was a musical stage. Jerry Corley is Jerry Corley's idea. Jerry Corley had it built. Jerry Corley was involved in the building. He's sitting there coming up with things, and I'm like, and I think that's where Jerry's first love of downtown came. And hear me, Jerry wanted downtown Jackson to be what it is growing into today over 20 years ago. Jerry Corley was fighting for downtown to become what it is. But Jerry was fighting bigger entities, and Jackson just wasn't ready. The structure wasn't ready for it yet. And Jerry was beating his head against the wall, really wanting downtown Jackson to grow and to become, and I think that shows him what he's doing today.
So tell me about, the little bit of irony of moving Cowdy Blues to be successful, but everything else here is downtown. Where does your love for downtown start? Is it at the tavern? And you're all downtown now.
Yeah. I mean, when we did the tavern, there wasn't much going on. And all of our friends at the time were going out age. They were all going out and doing things, but they weren't coming downtown. And it used to just frustrate me that it just wasn't happening. But and so, when I moved back to Lafayette, we obviously got rid of the tavern. I didn't want to, do that. So in 2008, we sold it to Molly and Gentry. And then when I came back, Hal and his group of guys, they had started the lift and really got behind it at that point. And I remember Jerry Gay called me in like 2012 or 13 and said, "Hey, man, you ought to do a pizza concept downtown." Swear that was, if Jerry Gay was, I call him up right now. He called me and asked me to do a pizza concept downtown. I said, "Jerry, you've lost your mind. Like, I'm just south of the interstate getting my butt kicked, or just did with Cowdy Blues. Man, people aren't going downtown yet."
Yeah.
Well, then he got Rockin' Dough to come in. And so I ended up with a pizza place downtown eventually anyway. But, I love it down here. I think people don't realize it, but, there are a lot of things to do down here. It's, unlike Van Drive, where you can come down here and park your car and get out and go eat dinner and walk over and see a show. I mean, a cool downtown it's what everybody wants. I mean, you look at and you go, oh, well, look at Nashville. It's on a huge scale, but what, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, nobody wanted to go to Nashville. Nashville was bad 30 years ago,
Yeah.
you know? So, and now look at it. I mean, got to do its thing. But I do like it down here. And, just so happens that all the businesses we have are just, within a half a mile of each other.
Yeah.
I mean, you can walk to, we're a quarter mile from Rockendo where we sit, and probably half a mile from Jackson's, but it's come a long way, and I did not do that, but I'm glad to be a part of it, and can't wait to see where it goes from here.
Lightning round. We may include some sound effects here or something.
Oh, okay.
So what do you think your best piece of advice you've ever been given is?
God, there's so much that you learn, and so much advice that you get. I always, advice isn't always spoken,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes shown.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill mentions it, but my parents, both had great work ethics. My dad was in the military for 37 years, and I don't know if that's where his work ethic came from, but he was a perfectionist. Not an OCD guy, but if somebody asks you to do something, you do it, and you do it right.
Yeah.
And I feel like I got that from watching him and working with him. Mm-hmm. And my mom, she always just figured out how to make things work. And so I feel like I got that also. Mm-hmm. And so I guess their work ethic really was the advice. I don't know. I know that's weird to say, because everybody would give you, oh, well, this guy said, but I think what I learned from them work ethic was the best advice that I could get. But and then the advice that I try to give is some that I've learned, or I don't know if I heard it or read it or what, but your life is a spectrum, of colors, and they all need to be equal. If your work is red, you can't be all work. Mm-hmm. You have work, you have family, you have faith, you have all these things, and your spectrum has to be even, has to be full, right? You can't be focused on one thing too much. Yeah. And so I think that's how I try to be.
Yeah.
But family to me is always the bigger color. Yeah. Everything else is just what it is.
When are you having the most fun in business?
I had the most fun. I can answer that quickly because I just went through it. I haven't been in operations, day-to-day operations, in 5 or 6 years. So much that Trevor and my team at Rockendo has put in new systems in place to run the restaurant, new terminals, new POS, new ways to expo. But when we opened Gallatin, these last 11 days have been the most fun that I've had in 5 or 6 years, because I'm not just trying to do deals or looking for new things. I actually got to get in there with a team and get dirty and get tired and celebrate at the end of a shift. And it was so much fun to get our butts kicked and to be able to celebrate. My oldest son, Trey, just finished up. He just played 5 years of college football, and we hired him, and he's been in Gallatin. He's been training to manage and this and that. But I told him, I said, dude, you're going to love this, because it's the closest thing to a team and a locker room that you can imagine, because you start the shift ready to go to battle, you make it through, and when you get done, no matter how intense it got, you feel accomplished when you make it through, and that's what I love about it. And so I'm happiest when I am just getting my butt kicked in the restaurant.
There is I've gone in the last couple of years. I've gone from doing stuff like making videos and now I'm doing a lot more of the strategic stuff. There is something lost in the I know what I did today, and I got these things done instead of like I got a little bit of this giant project done. I feel that too, and probably in a different way.
But the same. That's a great correlation, because it is like, you're right. Some days I'll sit at my computer all day. There's days where I won't even eat lunch till 6 p.m. I wake up, I hop on my computer, and I'm just answering emails and doing things. And at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I don't feel like I did much.
Yeah.
I know I did, but to put all that aside and to go into the restaurant at 11 and push food out for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Man,
it's very practical.
So much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. And I didn't realize that until the last 10 days.
If you had to start over again tomorrow, would you do this again, or what would you do?
Probably not. Probably not. It's been great for me. I think I've got myself and put myself into a good spot and a good position. Proud of where I am, happy to be where I am. But for instance, I got one son who's 23 and fixing to go to law school, and I got one who's entering the restaurant business. And I told them both, like, don't do this. Go do something else.
Yeah.
And if you need to come back to this, it's going to be built. Hopefully, it'll still be here. But do something different. It's a tough job.
Yeah.
And people that think, oh, I love food, I'm going to open a restaurant. I get calls all the time. Hey, can you give me some advice on this? My advice is, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because you're not ready.
Yeah.
You're not ready. You think you are, and you're doing it because you don't know where else to turn. But financially, you're not ready, and physically, you're not ready to do what it's going to take to keep it open. Think about how many fail.
Oh, so many.
So many.
What's next for your group of ventures here? I know you've got an app that you're working on.
Yeah. So, we just opened Gallatin again. I don't think we're going to open any more Rock and Dough restaurants in 2025. This year, we're going to just focus on getting those maxed out operationally, and figure out how to grow them. Hub City, this year we got added to, I think we're in 26 Kroger now, and we just got picked up at Sprouts and Fresh Market. We're fixing to go to Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. We're being distributed in Nashville, Knoxville, all across the state there. We're in the Nashville airport. So we're trying to up distribution with our Hub City brand. And then, of course, we launched our whiskey app, which is Whiskey Social, which is really a place for whiskey nerds to go. And I call it the Facebook for whiskey. And that might be outdated. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but it is. Like if I can put my collection on there, I can socialize on there, I can read articles, see what's coming out, all kind of things you can do on Whiskey Social. We're trying to finish it. It's not exactly where we wanted it. So we just hired Barrett Gay and his group to go in and tweak it. And I think within the next 60 or 90 days, probably when this comes out, we'll probably have 30 or 45 days left to get that thing right where we want it. And it's already on the Apple Store. You can go download it now. It's a free app. And then, the biggest thing that I'm working on right now that's probably the furthest away is the hotel project.
Across the street.
Yeah, right outside the brewery. That's the furthest away, but I got a group in Nashville that I'm partners with, and they're building hotels all around Nashville right now, and they love downtown Jackson. We put some studies out there trying to see what some of the industries want to see in that building. Do they need meeting space? Do they need extended stay rooms? I mean, what is it that they need? So we're doing some surveys trying to figure that out. But The city's been great to work with on it. And so that is probably the biggest thing we have, but the furthest out.
Yeah.
So
as we wrap up here, what do you hope your legacy is going to be in the business community?
Man, I can't answer that. I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't even look at it like a legacy more than I just would rather somebody say, yeah, I used to work for that guy. He was awesome.
Yeah.
That's all.
I can understand that.
I don't need any more than that.
Yeah.
So that's easy. So,
well, Jerry, thank you for your time and joining us. And people should go to Hub City, go to Rock and Dough, go to Jack's Kitchen Catering. It's all great. Actually, I can't say that the Hub City is great because I don't drink, but I assume it's awesome from all the good
volleyball.
press. I do play volleyball, and it is fun out here. You play pickleball, you can bowl, go to concerts. Yeah. It's a fantastic facility. So, but Jerry, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Enjoyed it, really.
Thank you for listening to 40 by 45, the West Tennessee Business Podcast. This series is produced by Adelsberger Marketing, directed, recorded, and edited by Eric Archer, branding by Katie Howerton, motion graphics by Ricky Santos, and it is produced and hosted by me, Kevin Adelsberger. If you are interested in creating a podcast for your business, connect with us at adelsbergermarketing.com. Subscribe to 40 by 45 on your favorite podcast platform for future episodes, and thank you again for listening.